You know, at this point, I'm not really worried about perimeter lines. You shouldn't be either. As you figure out what's going on with the piece, you can start to do more careful drawing. In this case, I'm taking a stump, and I'll use it almost like an eraser just to move some of the materials around in the eyes. Just to kind of move this around a little bit, kind of begin to draw around the actual iris. This is detailing. We're already detailing this, and we've only been at it for, what, 10 minutes? I can take the stump here, maybe use it to make a mark that's a little more definite. I can take the kneaded eraser, use it like a drawing tool to not only lift but blend. Just dragging that kneaded eraser along that edge works well. Come back in, redraw the ear that sort of was eliminated while I was working on the background. Coming in here, I'll just put in, even though it's kind of a little early, sort of like eating dessert before dinner, we want to come in and just, if I land a couple of highlights, if I look at where they are, if I measure, if I say, well, at an angle up to about here from the nose, I can see there's a highlight over here. It might help me decide where, and I don't want it to be too bright. That's really quite gray. I just barely touch that, and here it's even more dim on this darker side. So I'll just gently touch that little highlight there, just to kind of see if I'm drawing okay. I can see that my dimensions are off. I'm still not worried about that. This is just a study. This is an exercise in value or tone, getting at the form of something. Let's see, around here, I'll just put in a little darker point there and there. The plane here of the lips, the underplane will be a bit darker. It will give my piece a little more form. A little darker here. I don't want to get too exact. I've got the face compressed. Means that I've got this part too short. I see that now. There's a lot of things that I could do to change it. I could actually literally erase it. I could move it down with a brush. You can use a brush with charcoal. That's fun to do too. Go ahead and get that cast shadow in now. Move it down. There's a little cast shadow there. And then this cast shadow. Start to make a bigger statement with some of these things. Reestablish that line. I've moved it down a bit. Come in on this. His nose is more narrow. And you could take this now. The hard part's done. The actual getting the form down. Now I could come in and start to make this a more individual portrait by looking more carefully and drawing, measuring more carefully. Now I'll take a kneaded eraser and very gently, I mean this is kind of tricky almost, just sort of rub around gently to sort of blend or make some transition marks. Pushing an edge. I like to call this attending the edge, attending to the edge. And by just gently rubbing, and I can kind of model out the eyes a bit. I'm working that kneaded eraser to get it clean again. And I can just model, just drag that around. Now we're being a little bit more careful here, but I'm looking for values. I'm not really thinking in terms of this is an eye or anything like that. Just looking for a shape. And here's the shape of that eyelid. So after 15 minutes or so, you have a sketchy form down, and once again, you're still now looking for corrections if that's what you want to do. You can use a brush to move the charcoal around too. You can push the charcoal up, you can push it around, you can use it almost as a blender. In this case, I see now that I've made the eyes too large for the socket, and they're too low as well. So because I didn't really spend a lot of time, I just made little notations, I can just lift and move like magic this dust around. It's really easy to move. Later you'll have to spray it once you get it the way you like it with a fixative to hold it. Here's a little sable brush that can do a lot more aggressive treatment. I can pull down, see how I'm using it almost like a painter. Oh, I am a painter, and this is good practice for painters to be able to move things around. Using the side of it, I can move and lift, do other things like that. Then we can come in with a stump, use it to move things around, to edge things, attend to edges. These are the stumps that we can use to move things around with. We can come back in with a light touch of a charcoal and drag it around to push something back. Maybe that's going to need to go back so that the rest of it can come forward. And then finally you can use the hard charcoal pencil or a soft charcoal pencil. It's a lot more dense, to go in and do linear work that's a little more convincing and fun. So linear work now into the form, and here we go. And I'll just go in there and look for that hood. I kind of lifted out earlier. There's a little line there, little line here. Just the slightest amount of finish work can bring something on. Little angles there, a couple little marks there. I'm looking for the angles to come up, give me the hood of the eyelid coming in there, give me a little form, come down with the pupil a bit, little line of the iris there. And I realize that this doesn't really look much like my husband, but it's a fun little exercise. I'm trying to show you how to not think in terms of specific features, but to think in terms of form. This is the exercise we want to work on here. Just sort of teach us how to work in form, in value and tone, as opposed to symbols. Okay, and so then I'm just going to stop here. I want you to work on your own. Don't want to get too carried away here. It's hard to make me stop when I get going. Maybe do a little highlight or two here or there. Once you do a highlight, you can reassess it, decide if it needs to be toned down a bit, like so. It's easy in charcoal to work, make differences, and keep manipulating this surface. The important thing is to stay simple, look for that big shape map, squint down, and you know, play. Working from life is really exciting. It not only pulls the subject into the process, but it makes you edit. So it's very important to limit these exercises to about 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then just stop. You may want to set a timer even, so that you won't be tempted to fiddle around. The likeness is not important with this sort of exercise. What we're trying to do instead is train ourselves to squint down and see those simple shape maps.